Good morning นีฮาวซินจ่าวเซเลมัตปากีสวัสดีครับเราพยายามจะไปเป็น regional bank นะครับ
So we are trying to become a regional bank. That's why I'm speaking in different languages. I think some of you might be wondering of why do we have to talk about this topic today. What is Brilliant Basics? So following Mr. Peter just now, he talked about hardware. Today I am here to talk about operations of how do we implement or deploy those hardware to help us with banking and IT. But before we move on to Brilliant Basics, I would like to introduce KBTG a little bit more, just in case some of you do not know what is KBTG and what do we do exactly. So KBTG is an organization that we are a branch, an IT branch of Kasikorn Bank in Thailand. So we take care of infrastructure, software development and all aspects of the IT at Kasikorn Bank. And on top of that, we also build applications to fulfill the needs and wants of our clients. For example, Khun Thong, chatbot, เก็บตังค์ share bill. These are applications that make our lives more convenient, so it's easier for us to split the bills when we have lunch together. And we also have Make Bank, that is a social banking platform. It's another mobile banking that we have recently developed to fulfill the needs of the young generation's clients who would like to split the savings into different categories, like one for the parents, one for personal spending, one for future saving. That is under the name of Make Bank application. And on top of banking, we also work on coins and tokens like Cubics. We launched Destiny token, so that is we use it together with a movie called Destiny in Thailand, so we can co-invest with the movie production. We also have Coral, which is a platform that sells NFT, digital arts, and we have just sold our first artwork, sold out, that is to the value of 35 million Thai baht. So that's just examples of KBTG products. And the highlight of KBank is, I think all of you, majority of you here might have it, which is K+. That's the application that is our flagship application. We have 18.6 million customers so far, and over the past 3 years from the COVID-19 pandemic, the generation has increased threefold because we are trying to avoid the use of cash and we avoid coming to the branch of the banks. So the use of mobile banking has increased exponentially. So the total transaction value is about 30 billion baht per year. So if we compare the transactions through the KBank platforms, it's about 23 trillion Thai baht. So despite this workload, the Brilliant Basics strategy of us, it helps us to create a more stable platform. So say if you were customers who used the platform 3 to 4 years ago, what we have experienced is the application stopped working all of a sudden. So the application might crash, you cannot do transactions at the end of the month. But now, the situation has improved a lot. Say KBank application has improved a lot, so you can do transactions at the end of the month. I'm showing you some statistics to show that the incidents have decreased 60%. Resolution time has also decreased 33%. So total downtime of the system has decreased 66%. And so if you were to ask me, how do we do that? I'm going to give you the answer, and that is the reason why I'm talking about Brilliant Basics today. So we have the 6 topics under Brilliant Basics, so that help us to make our system stable and scalable. So first, let's start with scaling vertically. So we are trying to make the route that we have to make it clearer, to speed things up, be it upgrading the hardware that we use, like Huawei storage is another factor that help us because we changed to Huawei storage. That increases transaction time, and we also do tuning on database. We use in-memory database, for example. So we tune the website, we upload something onto the clouds, we also use some microservice to help us. So these are the factors that help us to scale vertically. Another thing is we also do horizontal scaling. So once we create a clearer channel, then we clone and then we copy, we duplicate the route. But it's not that easy because horizontal scaling, if you have used it from the backend approach, if we have different databases, if we have different sets of data, synchronizing all this data is very important. It is not easy. This is something that you need a lot of efforts. And on top of that, we also have to work on the accuracy of the transaction. Say, for example, if we try to do some transactions, what we don't want to happen is that you send money from one bank, it doesn't reach another bank at the back end. Because sometimes that money might be the last amount, that might be your last saving that you really need to use to pay for your tuition fee, for healthcare. So if you make a transaction and the money doesn't reach the destination, the clients will face a very difficult situation. So we need to fix our system. We need to redesign our system to avoid these kind of incidents or to actually make it impossible to happen. So we have created a monitoring system so that it collects information, it gathers data, and we create graphs to analyze so that we can see at certain point in time the destination bank, maybe they have some problems, maybe they have issues with the transaction. If we were to issue the transaction, they might not be able to receive it. Then we can turn off the transaction menu and then we contact the destination to the bank that, have you fixed the problem? If you manage to fix that, then we can reopen the channel so that clients do not have to face the difficult incidents of transaction loss. And on controlling volume, of course, you can see that the workloads are humongous, right? It's enormous data. So in terms of financial, it's a lot of transaction per second. So when you breathe in, there's 20,000 transactions. So that is about 1,000 transactions per second. It's enormous amount of data. So the banking system in Thailand, if we were to compare to the world in terms of volume, we are on par with the world standards because Thai people really do use a lot of online transactions. Therefore, the infrastructure in our operation must meet the global standards. So we have to control our volume, no matter how big the volume, be it at the end of the month, on the lottery day, whenever we see a lot of volume in a big chunk, we need to be able to manage that. So what we can do is we call it circuit breaker. So when we do circuit breaker, in order to help us to work as like a dam, so that this dam can help us to control if there are any issues happening at the back end or the back office, then we can fix that at the back end before we can let the transaction happen. And the fifth factor is on detective ability. We used all the data that we have, the data from transactions coming in. So we analyze, we process the information, and then we use AI to help us analyze, to see whether will there be any problems happening in the future. Are there any issues coming up in 10 minutes, in the next 1 hour? We should be able to predict that based on the data that we have so that we can prevent it from happening. This is a proactive approach. And lastly, although we have made everything possible, sometimes you can still see that there are issues or problems that take place. So the next thing is rehearsal. So we have to be able to turn around. We have to be able to come back and resilient. That's why you need to rehearse. Say, for example, if something goes wrong, who is responsible for the solutions? How do you do it instantly, promptly? So how do we do all this? How do we achieve all this? We have something called KBTG transformation. So we transform our organization starting from destroying silos. We used to divide between infrastructure and operations branches. Now we merge the two. We destroy silos, blend them together. Then we transform ourselves from doing things manually into automated systems. And we also use data. We use AI to help us with preventive maintenance. And we also have war room operations that is very strong. As I said before, we rehearse, and we also have a team called Doctor on Duty. So if you go to a hospital at nighttime, you always see the doctor on shift, right? A doctor on duty. So his duty is to take care of the critical cases before you can be referred to specialists. So basically, Doctor on Duty works on that kind of approach where we have a team who works 24/7 to monitor the incidents. So in case of any incident, this team can act to provide the first aid. So these team have been trained to have the abilities to tackle whatever happens instantaneously. And so they can tackle issues whenever it arises. This is another thing that can help KTB Plus to become more stable. So these are factors under brilliant basic strategy that we have. So now you might ask, do we stop here in Thailand only? Do we operate only in Thailand? No, we have expanded into China. So we work together with Huawei in China as well. We have established KBTG China. But we call the company K-Tech, so that we can work together with different partners in China. And that's another way to develop for KBTG. And on top of China, we also established KBTG Vietnam, so that we want to become banking as a service provider. And we are going to expand into Indonesia. Maybe you have seen the news that we have acquired a bank in Indonesia recently. Our next step is to become #1 tech company in Southeast Asia. And as a bank, we would like to make Brilliant Basics a foundation, a platform that will help Kasikorn Bank to become a top regional challenger bank at the end. Thank you very much.